Hi there, I'm Linden Thorp, and this is Your Body is Your Business Plan, the Masterclass. It's cycle 6 of this. We've run this 6 times now, 13 events each time, and it's got better and better and better. And so hopefully cycle 7 will be even better. But it's lovely because we've had lots and lots of guests and lots of discussion, and it's been great. So today then, I've got some guests waiting in the backstage, and I'm just going to bring up some slides so I can introduce the topic. And you can see here, I'll just go through these slides briefly, and then we'll bring on lovely guests. So basically then, the topic today is scattered to sovereign. Now, I sent this title to one person to invite them to come tonight, and he wrote back and said, I've no idea what you're talking about. But it seems that it's quite a well-known phrase to go from scattered to sovereign, and I tried to capture that with these images here. In simple terms, it means that you've got 300 different foci. You're confused, you're up in the air. But then if you focus on one foci, for example, with social media, some people have 8 social media platforms. There's no way you can manage those. That each platform is so demanding. And so I learned a long time ago to really focus on one platform, and for me that's LinkedIn. But many people try to juggle so many different platforms. That's scattering. That is scattering. And really, I feel much more sovereign and stable because I know I've just got one platform. And of course, YouTube, which we're streaming to today, LinkedIn and YouTube. And YouTube is my kind of connection with everything I do on LinkedIn. So yeah, sovereign is a really wonderful way to be. When you're really scattered, and we'll talk more about this when my lovely guests come on stage, but really what it feels like is that your mind is running on, you can't stop it, and really your body disappears. And of course, we can already diagnose that this is probably burnout. If your mind won't stop and it's looping around, then you may be approaching burnout. But it's important to know that if you feel like that, there's nothing wrong with you as long as you get balanced. You're simply overloaded. And so I spend a lot of my time trying to get people to balance their lives by body, spirit, and mind balance, because they're spending too much time on the internet, too much time scrolling in the digital world. It's inevitable, and you get sucked in. So yeah, don't worry. If you're feeling like that, please contact us. We can help. So why does this happen? Well, it's in very simple terms, it's really your nervous system asking for space. And there's too much inside you, and you're not grounded properly. So it's really important to get grounded. Again, I spend a lot of my time helping people to get grounded properly. So it's really important that you take a look here at the 4 inner compasses: the brain, brainstem, pineal gland, the heart and lungs, the solar plexus just below your rib cage, and the base of your spine, known as the base chakra, which is really important energy center. So yeah, let's just watch this movie, if it will play. Oh, I don't know if it will play. Just a moment. I have to go back, see if it will play. No, it won't. No, never mind. So, yeah, stepping back is quite a good metaphor if you're feeling so scattered. And you can, if you lower your eyelids a little, close out the dominant visual world, then you'll come down into your central core and you'll slow down. And yeah, your sovereignty will begin in the body, not in the mind. The mind is something quite different, this mind. But if you close out the visual and the intellectual for a little while, come down into your central core, then you'll start to feel very, very different very quickly. So yes, as I mentioned, here are the 4 compasses. And when these are aligned through this kind of mindful practice that we work with, then you will start to feel really much, much better. Yes, it's the direction of your energy. So, if you're scattered, the energy is really coming at you in furious streams, if you like. But if you're really grounded and so on, then it will flow into your body, it'll flow into your nervous system, and you'll feel very calm. And of course, that's connected to brain chemistry, to body chemistry, which we'll be talking about in a moment or two. But yes, you can see they're very different flows of energy. Yeah, how does sovereign feel? Well, it feels clear, steady, whole. You feel whole, and your body leads. Your mind follows. I think a lot of people make the mistake of thinking this mind is the master, but it's the other way around. This mind is our slave. It will do many things, but this down in the body with the heart and the nervous system, that is your master, if you like to call it that. We can't watch this movie, so let's move on. So yes, we can move from scattered to sovereign in under 90 seconds. If you have the right guide, you can do that. Or maybe you're adept at guiding yourself, which is wonderful. And I give sessions that are 30 minutes long, so you can see how much we can achieve in that. We can really shift and get you balanced quite quickly. This is the book that has inspired this series of events. Avoid burnout. Your body is your business plan. And it's a great read. If you're coming up for citation, you might want to have a look at it. I wrote it and I published it last year, and it's very readable. It's in chunks. So it's readable chunks, which I think suits many people today. Also, I'd like to mention that I work with embodied compassion. Compassion is a really positive resource that we can all access. And you can do a 6-module experience, and you can get this on YouTube, which is videos and PDFs and so on, called Embodied Compassion for Professionals. Many people in the workplace are using this because compassion is so important between leaders and teams, between CEOs and leaders, and so on. We need compassion to be well balanced in this digital world. And also, if you want to know how you can get in touch with yourself, somebody once said to me, "Oh, I'd love to know myself better, but I don't know where to start," because knowing yourself really well and trusting yourself will really lead you to a stable place of balance. But if you don't know how to do that, then try this. If you click on my QR code, you'll go to something that I call the Inner Compass Index. And it takes 5 minutes. There are 20 questions. And through this, you'll find how to connect more deeply with yourself. Try it. And we'll leave it in the comment box after we finish today. So try it. Very simple and very quick. So those are the basic ideas. Let me bring my lovely guests on the stage. Here's Margaret Barry, and Abby Sheila. Hi, ladies. Lovely to see you. So glad you could make it. And you both look great. Super. So, from scattered to sovereign, what do you make of it? Any comments? Does anyone want to get started talking about it? I think Margaret Barry might have something interesting to say, given our previous conversation we had. Go ahead.
Thank you, Linden. The whole topic of being scattered, and, I love the word because it so beautifully describes what one feels like when there's overload and there's just too much coming in. And, it makes me think about how we are designed to be receiving and giving, that there's always this circularity. And it's so easy for us to be overwhelmed either by giving out too much or taking too much in. And finding that balance that works for us, and as you so rightly say, we feel it in our bodies, because it's the biochemistry, it's the internal biochemistry that is really being affected.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I have not, for a long time, I've not really felt scattered. I used to, but then my practice deepened. In fact, the time I felt most scattered was when I was coming to the end of my teaching career, and I was tired. I wasn't burnt out. I've never burnt out, but I think I was really exhausted. The system in Japan really changed. There was so much admin to do. And, it became increasingly difficult to really just sit back and enjoy the students, which we'd done before that admin came in. And I really did feel I was trying to manage so many things at once, couldn't wait to stop. And when I did stop, it was heaven, because then I could really start to gather my scattered self together and start to become more stable and settled down. But really, for the most part of my teaching career, I've been fine. I've never experienced that until I got older. And
I beg your pardon?
Sorry, no, I got younger. Much, much younger. Can't you tell? And what is it you say? Age is simply an arrangement of numbers. Yeah, that's true.
My favorite thing is I say to people, we do not age, we sage. And that is, for me anyway, the desired outcome.
Absolutely, and I totally agree with it. But yes, I feel that many people now that I talk to are really scattered. And maybe in English we'd say they don't know whether they're coming or going. They don't know which direction to go in there. Another person describes it as firefighting. So there are so many things happening in their business, and they have to know all of the aspects really themselves, unless they've got help, of course. And yeah, that is a challenge if you're not well prepared. And I think many people give up starting their businesses because they just can't cope with the multitasking. You do have to multitask. Abby Sheila, don't you? You have to multitask.
Yeah,
you're a great multitasker.
No, I'm not sure that's a very positive word. I think I'm beginning to realize that word is quite a dangerous word.
What, multitasking?
Yeah, I think I like the beginning of the video where you talked about having different social media, which I used to do, be on different social media. And yeah, you do get overwhelmed and you don't realize, I think and I feel, and from experience, the coming or going thing, and the business of multitasking. And as women, we pride ourselves because you say we can multitask, but the men can't. And I believe in the old days, maybe the way evolution works, we need to multitask at certain parts of our lives. Maybe during the childbearing years, we need to, because you have to be juggling different things. But I'm not sure that's a permanent condition. Because what I find is like the overwhelm. So you start multitasking, it becomes a habit. You're dipping your hands into everything. And then when you start your business, if you're not used to having the focus, which is what you said, having that focus, and I'm not saying you only have to concentrate on one thing, but but having that one focus. And I think this is one of the reasons why in the corporate world you find out that a lot of men are able to hit the top positions because they are groomed to focus on one thing, and it's acceptable for them to focus on one thing. Whereas we become, we have to multitask, and I think that just overwhelms you, causes burnout. Of course, you can't just do one thing. You might have to, especially having your own business. But when you can afford it, is better to delegate. I recognize before I met you, Linden, I was doing so much on my own, and like they say, jack of all trades and master of none. And that's what happened. And since I was able to get somebody to help me with my social media, it's made a very big difference in terms of my focus. I'm still not there because I'm used to the multitasking, and I feel that I have to, but I feel that my multitasking is in my head. I don't really need to. If I just focus on the one subject rather than jumping from one subject to the other, because I'm having to try to do everything. And I think the example you gave at the beginning of the social media is a good one for me because I can relate to that. And I think it's a good one for a lot of people because that's what we're doing. We're being on LinkedIn, we're being on Facebook, Instagram, and they're all, even though they're all similar, but they all require different kind of strategies.
Yeah.
So again, you're becoming a jack of all trades and master of none. So it's better, I think, for your nervous system, because I think without us realizing, like Margaret talked about the chemistry in the body, which I'd like to really learn more about, without realizing the chemistry in your body is doing its stuff while you're up there in your head thinking, oh, I'm going all together, but your body is doing its thing that it normally does. I don't think we were created, because like you say with the Aborigines, and some of them choose to live that lifestyle. It's different for them, and it's different for us because we believe that it's a great skill. It is a great skill. I'm not knocking it, but I think it has getting that balance.
It has its limitations. Yeah. I think that for me, multitasking is fine, but I think the word is a problem.
It's the word.
This word, as usual, the word really drives me crazy, and I only used it because I wanted you to know exactly what I was talking about. But it really is a terrible word, isn't it? Because, and of course, sorry to say this, but it's an American corruption of English, which so many of our new terms are. But what it implies to me is that you have this speed. You have to do everything at this incredible
like
speed.
Yeah. Like you have these different arms, and they're all working, doing different things. So these two things, and the two coming out doing. That's what I see in my mind's eye.
Yeah.
When I hear the word, that's the picture that comes into my mind.
Yeah, people running around with burning pans comes to my mind, throwing pancakes and running around screaming because everything's burning, It seems so. For me, I never really use that word, but that phrase. But for me, if I've got a lot to do, then I prefer the word momentum. I love that word. I mean, it sounds so lovely, doesn't it? Momentum. It's got a great onomatopoeic sound. And for me, it means you can go whatever speed you like. It's not to do with speed. It's to do with a progress that really suits you at time, So, momentum is much better. So we won't talk about multitasking anymore. Okay. We'll call it Margaret, go ahead.
One of the coaching methodologies I use is the Clifton Strengths based on positive psychology. And it really helps us to understand ourselves as being unique human beings. And I think as the world population has increased, it's become more and more, well, people do this and everybody is like that. And it does not allow for our uniqueness. And what is stressful or an overburdensome for some people might be a walk in the park for others, just because they naturally are able to multitask more so than other people can. And it's I think that allowance for, yes, we are all human beings, but we're still unique in the way we express and perform in our lives. And I'm not endorsing the idea that some people are better at multitasking than others. No. I'm just saying be aware of the extent to which multitasking reaches the level, of burden rather than efficiency.
Great. That's great. I like that. Burden.
I like that. I like the way you put that.
Well, the other phrase that's coming into my mind now is keeping all the saucers in the air, which people seem to say all the time to me. You've got all these saucers going. I mean, it's funny that all these images are to do with cooking and crockery and stuff, isn't it? So it clearly comes from the world of women. Feeding the baby on one nipple, throwing the saucers up in the air on the other. You know all about that, Sheila. But I think that if we have one focus, it all comes back to your main focus, doesn't it? So until you have that really clear, until you know what you're doing, whatever it is, whatever activity, whether it's a business or whatever it is, until you're really clear about that and that it's really what you should know. Sorry, just checking to see if you're listening. It's really what you can do in the world so beautifully and smoothly and so on, then I think things are difficult to run when you're not clear, because you're trying many things. And especially in business, of course, with marketing, you've got to keep trying things. And so you do the A/B testing for 3 weeks. And if whatever is best, then you adopt that and you test it again. All of this marketing stuff, which we have to do when we have an online business. And so it means that you, at the beginning of setting something up, you maybe are not clear at all. How can you be, really? Because things are evolving. Your business is evolving. You are growing into your business, if you like, or you are becoming the person that your business needs to succeed, or your activity, your career, whatever it is. So I think it'd be difficult to keep going, bubbling, keep all the pots bubbling at the beginning of setting something up. But when it becomes clear, then for me, I know exactly what I've got to do every day. And it's all about momentum. And I visualize it and it's smooth. And if something goes differently, then I go off a little bit on another path and then come back to the main path and perhaps perfect that the next day. So I think many people are not clear enough about their mission or what they want to do in life. And so they try many things. They're hedging their bets, really. And the people I talk to are saying things like, oh, well, I have to succeed. I've got many people waiting for me to succeed. So I have to try everything desperately. I have to do it quickly. because this has to happen quickly. So most of the people I talk to are in this huge race. They are racing to become successful. And of course, what they're doing is running away from themselves, really, because I believe you can't be successful outside until you're successful inside.
And that's the trick, isn't it? That we're not realizing, working on the inner self, which helps with the chemistry, which I don't really understand, but I can get in my head. And so it's because, and again, I think because we're magnetic, so when we are becoming that, we're attracting to the same like to us and getting the opportunities. And if we're open and our brain is clear, the opportunities are coming in through our thoughts, and we can pick them up, easily, as opposed to when we have a muddled mind where it's all confusing and we're in the flight or fright mode. And so we're always kind of thinking, oh, I'll try the next shiny object. Oh, I'll try the next shiny object.
Yeah. And also, I think people give up so easily. In 2025, thousands of internet businesses started up, and this is a Gallup statistic, I think, and only 4% of those businesses survived. 96% of those new businesses folded, and people just gave up, And so I think that says it all, really, that you have to keep going. Of course, we have disappointments. We have moments when we want to jump off the balcony and, things are just not going the way we want them to. But that's a fantastic lesson, because we can't always get our own way. If that's happening, I think it's all about ego. It's not about what the body wants to do, what the nervous system wants to do. And it's not natural. Margaret, I can see you champing at the bit.
I've got 1,000 thoughts running through my head.
Oh, sorry. Too many.
No, not at all. I think that, one of the things that I feel quite strongly about in the world is that somehow there's a way to be, which does not allow for our uniqueness. What is perfectly manageable for one person might be totally beyond the capacity of somebody else.
Yeah.
And so for us to own and understand ourselves and know the boundaries of our capacities is really very, very helpful. And that takes living a life and being, and I loved what Ebi Sheila was saying about babies and cooking and all the things that we do as young mums and so on. We all survive it amazingly. However, it often sets a pattern. And if we don't question those patterns and say, that was appropriate for then, is it still appropriate now?
Exactly.
And that's agency. It's really taking on board agency and saying, I get to decide. Yes. I need to know myself well enough to know the boundaries beyond which I cannot go. Because it becomes
I love that.
Detrimental to me.
Yes, I totally agree. And people haven't got a clue how to set their boundaries because they are scattered and because they're trying everything to make this work. And that determination really gets me upset because it means that all that energy is being channeled into the wrong direction, perhaps. And then people give up. Of course, they're exhausted. They burn out, perhaps. And they just really don't want somebody. Who was it? Mike Stevenson, who is in our kind of, what can I call it? Not age group, but our number group, if we want to call it that, in our number group, said to me at one point, he said, Linden, I don't want to sit at my computer all day writing posts and comments. Do you? And I said, well, sort of, but I don't mind it because I've got a good system and I've got a good technical background and so on. and he didn't have that. So he was finding a lot of problems. But I did agree that, yes, I would rather be out walking or swimming or something than sitting at my computer. But there are ways to do that successfully, you know, by making sure you're standing up every 20 minutes, or, you know, you've got an alarm to go out and walk around the block for 2 minutes or something. But he wasn't doing that, and he was just sitting there stock still. And for me, that kind of conjured up a really interesting picture of this person determined to make this work by sitting there on and on and on and doing everything he had to do, but really being so unhappy about all that, you know? So I said to him, well, don't do it. You don't have to do it. No one's forcing you to do it. Why don't you do something different? And he said, yes, I think I will. So it's like, you know, the more hours you sit in front of the screen, the more success you're likely to have. I think that's the limited mind mentality quite often.
Again, is it not all to do with also the urgency that we have in our lives these days, that everything has to be immediate? We don't, in the old days before, like, people got things, they'd wait until they had the finances to do it. But now we kind of have easy ways we can get the credit more easily to be able to get things that we need. So that it's become part of our habits that we expect to get the instant gratification. Yeah, that's what they call it. So
that's
instant
the phrase.
gratification,
Yeah,
as opposed to waiting. So if things are not working out for us, rather than stay with it, because I think one of the universe's law is that sometimes when things are about to change, it seems like it's negative, because it's not actually, it's not even that saying it's negative. It's probably not going the way we've planned it in our heads, but it's going to work in another way. But because it's not going the way we've planned in our heads, we give up.
Yeah,
we give up.
Yeah.
And is that why people are giving up on their ventures that they're trying to get into? I don't know.
Yeah, Margaret?
Can I throw something in here? You know,
Yes.
I think Linden certainly knows I love analogies. And
Okay.
one of the things, a beautiful analogy actually, is that if you want to shoot an arrow from a bow, you have to pull back first to give it momentum. And, you know, often we feel we've just got to go. We've got to get it off the, you know, and we don't allow for that pull back to gather the energies that are required for that arrow to fly.
That's very nice. I do love that.
I like that. Yeah, I like that
so
analogy.
True. It's so true, isn't it? Because Abby Sheila and I were always saying, take a step back. You know, if you're feeling scattered, if you're feeling frustrated, then the best thing you can do is step back. And of course, from my background, you know, that represents not getting burnt by the fires of the mind. So this is a Buddhist idea that, you know, that if you are in the middle of all this, in the middle of the fires of the intellect and the visual, you're going to get burnt, probably, one day. So if you feel that incredible urgency, and I think many people do, then the best thing you can do is take one step back, and you can still feel the warmth of that fire, but you don't get burnt because you're too far away.
I like that analogy too. Yeah,
I think the bow and the stepping back are very similar, and they're lovely. It's a lovely kind of kinesthetic movement to kind of pull the string back. Yeah, and this week in all my posts, I've been talking about pausing, because, you know, if you can just simply LinkedIn members and YouTubers, if you can simply remember to pause before you get sucked down a rabbit hole, which seems to be the favorite activity today, being sucked into a technical rabbit hole, Margaret, or sucked into a, you know, a financial rabbit hole, or whatever kind of rabbit hole it is, you know, then you're going to end up getting angry. You're going to end up throwing your computer off the balcony or whatever. And, you know, that's right. Or standing on it or something, you know, putting it in your teacup, putting your phone in your teacup. And, you know, it's going to end in tears. So, yeah, at that point, if you can develop the habit of pausing and saying, wait a minute, and just take a step back, go away for a while. When you come back, you're in a completely different space, probably, and you can sort things out much better because you've got a little bit of distance.
Yeah, because it does give you clarity. Like when you step back, take the deep breaths, your brain seems to get more organized, doesn't it? Although it's the ego sometimes, for me, the ego sometimes doesn't let me do it because I can't think, no, I'm going to stay, I'm going to finish, I'm going to make sure I finish it. Yeah, but I'm learning that that's not getting me anywhere.
But that's interesting, I think, isn't it? Because, you know, where is the line between what we call focus and maybe we could call it engagement. I love that word too. When you're really engaged in what you're doing, really focused. And where is the point at which you are becoming sucked into something and absorbed by it, like being eaten by a huge octopus or something? You know, the tentacles grab you and gobble you up, you know. So where is the point between those two? Margaret.
Can I throw something in? Yes.
You can.
I love the word agency. You know, I think that when we remain agents of our own activities, in other words, we're mindful of not our limitations. I don't use that word, but the point at which it's time either to change or to do something different or to pause or to whatever. But to be mindful of what our capacities are. And they're not the same every 2 days. I don't know about you, but I can tell you that on some days, I want to throw the computer out of the window and just, you know, go and walk in the park.
I know.
Whereas other days, I'm perfectly happy to just sit here and do what I need to do.
Yeah.
And that's about listening to your body, isn't it? That's about listening. And being there and then having that agency, like, yeah, it doesn't matter if I don't finish this now, I can finish it tomorrow. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I make quite strong rules that I will not work past 6 o'clock. So as soon as 6 o'clock comes,
I don't know.
I down tools. I down tools. And then I spend the next 3 hours watching a movie, having a glass of wine, and I don't do anything then for the rest of the night, unless I've got a meeting, which sometimes happens in Japan. But I have that rule, and I don't go beyond 6. So, it's difficult to stop. And I think one of the problems is that there are many problems lost together quite often. So, for example, if you want to publish something, you may find you've got a technical glitch. So you can't get it ready, you can't get it to look right. Maybe you can't then get it onto your social media platform or where you're sending it because you've got the wrong link. You know, there are compound problems associated with our digital lives. We are digital. And, you know, there are so many layers to the digital life, aren't there? You know, it's not just one simple task. And that's another reason I object to multitasking, because I don't think tasks are like that. I think tasks are organic. You know, as you said, Ebishila, you know, you've got to do this thing. You've decided to get this thing ready by a certain time. But it may not work because the task has grown in some way. It's like an amoeba, you know, it's got this extra lump on the left side, which you didn't anticipate. And so, you know, you have to change your plans. So I suppose it all comes back to flexibility too, doesn't it? You know, can you say, oh, well, can't do it today, I'll do it tomorrow. And I think that's a real gift to be able to do that.
And
Margaret.
I think some again, some people naturally are much more adaptable than other people are. And there's also an important thing about what I call psychological safety, is that for some people, if they feel really unsafe because they're being asked to do something that is beyond their ken or their their experience, doesn't mean to say they can't do it. It's just that they don't have the experience and therefore don't have that sense of safety in performing something.
I think this is a really important point. Yeah, I do. Yeah, because I think fear drives people these days.
Often.
Fear. I mean, there are so many things to be fearful of. AI, taking
That's a
over
big one.
everything. That's a big one.
Yep.
AI, computer skills. I know that many people in the workplace, especially older people, are really worried that they're lagging behind with their computer skills, and they have to retrain. And of course, their bosses have to pay for them to retrain. And so that's maybe a threat to their continuing on, because they don't have enough computer skills. And this is crazy, really, isn't it? Because, we have to train people. We have to retrain people to cope with AI, to cope with all of the things we have to cope with. And if leaders and CEOs are not willing to do that and not willing to invest in it, then there's no point in working there. Because at this time, I really feel that training is so important in so many different levels. We've got a lovely comment here from Christina Vidovic. Welcome. I'm so glad you're here. I nearly tried to invite you today, Christina, but then I ran out of steam and didn't know which country you were in or how visible you were and so on. But she says the power of the pause is so important. Thank you. It truly is. And you must come and join us soon, Christina. I will invite you next week. Okay, I'll be in touch. So yes, I think in the workplace, Ebby Sheila and I are trying to take our Lodestone programs into the workplace, and I am getting lots of feedback from leaders and CEOs and so on about the fact that this is so new, this kind of wellness program, that people will have to be trained to use it. And I say, great, we'll train them. We'll show them how to use it. But then I go away and I think, that was a bit rash, because, it takes many, many, dare I say, years. Yes, I would say years, to develop the depth of spiritual capacity.
Consistency.
And consistency. And I think that if I I'll just finish that point and then hand over to you. The point about capacity is so important now, I think, isn't it? And in the spiritual world, in the Buddhist spiritual world, we talk about containers. So we say, this person has a huge container. This person doesn't have such a big container. And of course, containers can expand and expand. They can also contract. And I think this is rather neat, because I think it kind of gives the idea of capacity and the idea that if we take risks, that's another problem I think people have. If we overcome our fears of trying something new, of stepping, off the plank, yes, stepping off the edge, yes, without a kiss, then we're really our containers are going to shrink. So fear will shrink your container and your capacity. And that means burnout, probably. And it means also tremendous unhappiness, because you are so dissatisfied with yourself. When all the time, if you'd taken the risks, but you hadn't been so desperate to be successful, to be visible, as Christina would say, perhaps, then, you know, if you have momentum and you're moving slowly, then your container grows with you. And I like that. I think that is very much how it is for many people. Their capacity can grow with them if they take things slowly and carefully and look after themselves, you know. Margaret.
And again, this is an individual thing. Some people have more capacity than others, and also depending, you know, a lot on our conditioning in our developmental years. Certainly, speaking from my own experience, it was expected of me that I had endless energy for looking after everybody else, because being the only girl, you know, in a mainly very top-heavy male sort of environment, somehow it was expected, in my day anyway, that as a woman, you had to give up what was important to you and, you know, pay attention over there. And I don't want to make this into a whole, you know, gender thing at all. I don't mean that. What I'm saying is that our conditioning in our developmental years has quite a lot of power. And often we are bound by what I call the spells that are cast over us in those times. And that we don't step back and say, is this really the case? Can I not revisit this and perhaps think about it differently? Because that might be seen as selfish.
Yes, now here we come on to that famous topic of self-sacrifice. And it is, Abhishita and I have really grappled with this in the past in embodiment Q&A. Self-sacrifice, I think, is kind of ingrained in people, especially in Christian countries, in my experience, and Islam too. So the women have very specific roles because they're childbearers, and they have to look after their babies so they can start looking after their brothers when they're 3 years old, you know, and this kind of thing. And I think that we, especially women, are, as you say, Margaret, expected to sacrifice things for other people.
Certainly in my generation.
Are they expected, or do we put that expectation on ourselves? Because like everything else, everything becomes a habit. So when you're a younger person, a younger woman, just because you're in the childbearing age, naturally you want to serve. That's just a natural thing, religion or no. I don't think it has anything to do with religion. I just think naturally we want to serve. Religion doesn't help, because I think it probably perpetuates that, because it believes that when you serve others, then you get closer to God. But I think as women, so why don't men feel the same way? Why is it just a woman thing? I think maybe because of the fact that we carry something sensitive, or we're meant to carry that the vessel, or carries another human being, so you can't help but, because that just comes naturally. And so maybe we are built to be that way. But the thing is that I think we've gone too far. The pendulum has swung too far in that we are meant to be that way, but it doesn't mean we have to sacrifice ourselves, and it doesn't mean it's selfish, because even in the scriptures, being a Christian does tell you, love thy neighbor as thyself. It doesn't say love thy neighbor first. It says as thyself. So you look at yourself and ask it, because if you're loving somebody else first, that's a big sign, a red flag that you don't really love yourself. Because when you love yourself, then automatically anyway, you will have the capacity to love others and to do for others. But somewhere along the line, we've forgotten that we cannot we have to put the mask on ourselves first, like they say on the plane. We've forgotten that, because that's what gives you the strength. And if you're not strong enough to do that for yourself, If you think that's selfish to do, you will soon lose that capacity and not able to do it for others, let alone do it for yourself. It's like, yeah. So I think again, is that it comes back to what Margaret said about the choice, agency. To be able to understand this is agency. When do I stop helping others? When do I now need to fill my cup up? And the cup has to be overflowing before you're helping. A lot of times we're helping from a half empty cup. That's not sustainable. Or a cup that's got holes in it. So it's leaking out. You have to make sure you're solid and then you do it. And Linden, you talked a lot about fear. For me, before, when I think about fear, I think about a lion chasing me, a dog chasing me, something chasing me. But the fear can be very subtle, can't it? Like you're late for a meeting, you're running for a bus. That's also fear on your nervous system. Because your nervous system thinks it's chasing, you're being chased by a tiger, doesn't it? And that's what we need to remember. Those little things, those little stresses that we have. In the old days, they might have been chased by a lion once in 2 weeks. Now we get stresses like 50 times a day. We're running late for a meeting. We've lost this appointment. We've done this. We've lost this thing. So we're having so much on the nervous system and awareness.
Yeah. Margaret. And choice. Yes.
We cannot choose if we're not aware. Otherwise, we tend to go onto automatic, and we just automatically continue doing what we've always done because, well, that's what life is.
It's comfortable.
But as you were talking, maybe I was having a lovely picture in my mind of going down to Worthing Town with a tiger running after me. Where would they find the tiger?
The British tiger. Put a tiger in. Do you remember the Esso adverts? Used to say,
yes.
Put a tiger in your tank. I remember that. But what's coming to me, this is really interesting because what's coming to me is, of course, my Aboriginals, my Indigenous experience, because I don't know how much you know, Margaret, about them, but I've talked ad nauseum to Ebby about them, and she'll tell me to shut up soon, I think. But the thing is that in Aboriginal society, in most of the tribes, a child is born, but that child is chosen spiritually from the dreaming. So the dreaming is their main culture. And so they have this amazing pool. They call it Junda Gayanga pool. And the pool is full of spirits, baby spirits. And so the woman who wants to get pregnant or is called to be pregnant really sits by this pool. And of course, she becomes pregnant with the right baby. So that when we talk about what's expected of us, if you think of that as your creation story, this is how your life is meant to be. But then the other thing is that most Aboriginal tribes, when a baby is born, every single male member, is that baby's father, and every single female member is the mother.
That's the way it should be. Oh, sorry, I'm sorry.
So the child,
my heart's swelling.
Yeah, the child has kind of 20 parents, and each parent is specialized in some aspect of spiritual development.
Beautiful.
And so the child just moves around and is brought up in maybe different places as well, because they walk for miles and miles for spiritual progress. So they go on a walkabout to their next mother, who will show them how to do this, and then their next father. And it works so beautifully because that child is not attached. That child is totally adored by 20 parents. I'd love that.
I think, and it reminds me also of that, in other words, all the wide variety of influences, allows for choice and so on.
Yeah.
rather than this rigid you should and you must and you have to, and
Yes.
this is the way we do it in this house.
Yes.
I can remember
Yes.
that one.
Yes. And the nuclear family. I mean, God help you if you don't get on with your parents because you've only got two,
Yeah.
And
Well,
yeah, I in fact had a big problem with my mother. I couldn't stand my mother when I was a child, and I don't know where that came from. But my father, I adored him. So
but
I only had one parent, I think, when I was growing
but
up.
but you see, if you see, like, things like Mother's Day and Father's Day is something I'm so uncomfortable with, because for me, motherhood, like just what you said, Linden, now about that culture. Motherhood is not only about childbearing. It can be, but all women are mothers and all fathers all men are fathers. That's what I believe, even without hearing your story. And I think it's beautiful. Like, as you didn't get up, if we had that in our culture, you didn't get with your mom, you probably wouldn't have had a difficult time, because there would have been another woman in the community that you would
Yeah,
have related to, and you would have related to your mother in a different way, and
yeah,
got on with her. But because you had in your mind, that's my mother and I have to relate to her, which you didn't
mm,
have to, because there could be somebody else that aligns to you in other ways, and your mother aligns to you in other ways, but you didn't have that opportunity to
no,
have that,
that's
because
right.
we're into this. You have to, this is what it is, like Margaret said, it's rigid, this is the way it is, this is what it's always been. But no, it doesn't have to be. It's fluid, because women in a community, you can get you can really gel, and that child has so much, because it has all these mothers or aunties, as they
Yeah,
call them, and
heaven.
uncles. Yeah, it's like heaven. Yeah, and grandmothers and
Yeah,
everyone. So in the community, and it takes away the stress from the biological parents, and the biological parents are even
yes.
able to go out and work and do stuff without having that fear of, you
Mm,
know.
burden.
And it's just that, but yeah, so it's not a sacrifice. Everybody is contributing, and it's just so
Mm,
beautiful.
mm.
And when the child
Yeah,
commits the crime, the whole village
sorry.
comes in, and they kind of
Yeah.
sort it out with love and
Yeah.
responsibilities, and says, well, if it happens to your grandmother, how would you feel? So is it restitution or restoration? I don't know. That you do.
Mm,
It's just a beautiful
yeah.
concept. I wish we hadn't moved away from. I'm sure we were like that once upon a time.
The other interesting thing is that many studies have been done on Aboriginals and they don't experience jealousy,
That
Yeah.
would make
because
sense.
jealousy is kind of an attachment to one person, usually,
Ownership.
isn't it? So they don't have that. They don't know that emotion at all. And um, I think jealousy can be such a destructive emotion,
It
you
is.
know.
Very much
Envy
so.
as well, if you're constantly envying other people, then how can you love yourself? How can you
No, you
appreciate
don't.
yourself? You
If that's
can't.
a red flag. If you are, it means you don't have love for self. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, there are so many excellent things. I wish we would use these examples to change the way our societies develop, but of course we can't
You got in your
change
little corner.
I was,
yeah.
I was going to say
Rico.
that is part of growing up, becoming adult, is that ability to choose for yourself that says,
Mm,
I can see the advantage to this, and that would work for me. Therefore, I will adopt that as a habit or as a way of seeing the world, and so on.
yeah.
Because I do feel very strongly that as adults we have choice,
We
and
do.
Yes.
how do we
Yes.
exercise that choice in a responsible way, both to society and to ourselves.
Mm.
That it's not
I
either
think
the one or the other.
No.
no, that's right. I think it's a brilliant point. Yes, yes, yes. But have we got off our main point, which is from scattered
Possibly.
to sovereign? It's been
So
wonderful
being
to.
sovereign, I
Okay.
don't think we really have, because being sovereign is, like Margaret said, that ability to have choice, isn't it? To have choice, and
Yeah.
be balanced, and
Yeah.
I know we've gone away from the slides, but
Well,
it
that
is
doesn't matter.
that's part of being sovereign. I mean, maybe we haven't covered
Yes.
everything, but part of being sovereign, the main thing is like having that ability as we grow up to be adults, to have that choice, to be aware of who we are, be able to make the choices that make us sovereign and be who we were meant to be. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. Yes. I think. Thank you for bringing us back there. Yes, I think so. And I think that you know, it's a lovely phrase, isn't it? To be sovereign, to be your own sovereign, if you like. To because we are the irony of it all is to me that, you know, and Margaret and I often say this, that, you know, we know we've got individual fingerprints, we know they're unique, we know our DNA is unique, and so on and so forth, but we don't live our lives
As if we
and
are.
abiding by that. I'm choosing my words carefully, abiding by that reality. And I think that um, if we could only realize that actually, and as coaches and mentors, or whatever we want to call ourselves, we know, don't we, that if we're trying to help somebody to get over an obstacle or to transform or something like that, there's no way that we bring about that change. We create the conditions in which they say one day, probably completely unannounced, yes, I'm going to do that today. And that's their decision, isn't it?
Absolutely.
And when they reach that point, it's nothing to do with us really, except we've dug the ground and fertilized it
I was
and
going to say, we fertilized the ground
put a
for the
few
new
seeds
shoot.
in there for the new
Yes.
shoots. Yeah. Oh, we're full of cliches today, aren't we? Dear me. Anyway. So yeah, I think that, you know, people out there, LinkedIn members, YouTube members, please understand that you are the master of your life. You are the supreme ruler. I won't be sexist there. You are the supreme ruler of your life, and you have choice. And you are the only person who can decide to change. And if you don't change,
Mm-hmm.
well, that's your decision, you know.
Yeah.
And you can only influence you, really. I mean, you can help and support others, but the only person you can change is you. You can't change anybody else.
But I will add to that, and I love it, but I would add to it too that if you don't know who you are,
Yeah.
then that's
Yeah.
a real handicap, isn't it? So it comes
Yes.
back to so you are here, try out my index. I'll put it under the window here, and it's just 5 minutes to try and get a way into looking at yourself in a different way. And, you know, that may lead to different action and different kind of perspective. Please try it. It works. It's very good. Well, my dears, unfortunately, we're having a ball, but I've got to come to an end. Any final messages for our lovely audience out there? Christina hasn't written another comment. She may do now. I've nudged her. But anything to say to our lovely audience? Maybe Sheila?
For me, just like what Margaret said, awareness, know who you are, love thyself, and everything will be like a domino for being sovereign. Basically, is
And
knowing
everything will
thyself.
become the one thing. And yes,
Yeah.
on a very, very practical level, please, if you've got 8 social media platforms, lose 7 of them and choose the best one.
For you.
Margaret's sweating because social media platforms make her sweat. Yes, they are very, very scary things.
Well, it's a perfect example of what we're familiar with is easy. When when there's a lack of familiarity, it becomes a challenge.
Yes.
And you know, I'm perfectly happy to admit it. You know, but
Yeah.
you know, really, just to say thank you so much for inviting me to participate in the discussion. And yeah, I think the important thing is that, you know, we take responsibility for the decisions we make, for what we expose ourselves to and the choices we make.
Yeah.
That they are not imposed on us as adults. We can question and we can decide.
That's
Yeah.
right.
Agency.
And if we've had 20 parents, that becomes even easier. But absolutely. And yeah, we need to step into our power.
Yeah.
We need to, don't we? We need to realize how powerful we each are. Every single soul. Just to finish, I would like to just remind you of the tapestry, which is again Aboriginal. But when I asked the tribal leader of this group of Pitjantjatjara I was working with, how she saw the earth and all the species on the earth, she said, it's a huge tapestry, and every stitch counts. Some stitches are broken, faded, some are great, too big, but every stitch counts. And she said only when all the stitches are rejuvenated and into their particular color or thickness or whatever, will our global community really gel. And I just love that, because I think it's so true. And that's from an ancient person who lives with the land, and that kind of wisdom is fabulous, I think. Yeah. Anyway, thank you so much, and please come back again. We'll be here again next week. We're going to be next week in just a second, in number 12, event 12. I've lost my sheet. Just a moment. Here it is. Yes, 12 is sacred scale without burnout. So, Ebishira, it's right up your street. Burnout is our big thing. And we should remind everyone, we've got the Burnout Summit coming up very soon on the 11th and 12th of August. We've got lots of interesting speakers. I'm going to speak, and there's going to be a special guest who we won't tell you about today, but a special guest will come and speak. So please come and join us and learn more about burnout from many perspectives. So let us know if you'd like the link to register. Places are filling up, so to register soon. And so, yeah, we'll see you next week for sacred scale without burnout. So we can scale, but we don't burn out. Thank you. Bye.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Bye.
Thank you too. See you soon. Wonderful, great discussion. I hope we didn't go too much off the point, but I think it's fascinating to get three wise ladies together to talk about these things. So please come and join us again next week. If you want to know anything about anything we've talked about, please leave a question or a comment, and come back again next week, and we'll move to the next stage. So thank you so much. Bye for now. Have a great few days ahead, and yeah, stay sovereign. You are the boss, so it's your life, it's your sovereignty. Don't let anybody dissuade you of that. Thank you so much. Bye for now. Bye.